Well, hello world. Um, Today's video is what I'm going to call my witching hour, and how I got to that, um, because it's not the usual subject. It's not as much about spinning. It's more of a vlog, but I will give it my own personal touch. Since I've earned the rather sometimes dubious reference of being a witch by those who don't know me well enough, I I will call it the witching hour because I won't be bitching. I will be vlogging, but I will basically also do what I think is important to do, creating our reality. It is said that we create the reality we want to live in. Now, I'm not happy with the reality we as humans live in at the moment, so I'm trying my very best to change what can be changed and show people where they are messing up if I know they're messing up. And obviously, who am I to say that I know better? I know what I know, and I will try and share that. So I'll focus on what's important to me and what I know. I decided to make this video specifically as sort of an introductory. I mean, first things first, now. This is called Fura Falpacas. Oh, well, while I'm on the subject, I can just as well do the introduction as well. I'm Ricky Smuts, owner of Fura Falpacas. And today I want to tell you a little bit about what Fura Falpacas is about, why it came about, what I envisage for the future, things like that, things that are important. But I also would like to share why I think it's important for other people to know what I'm doing, because I'm not just doing it for myself. That would be quite selfish. And I think the best place would be to start the pricing of alpaca fiber as well. If you look on my website, you've got a good guide of what I'm charging for my alpaca fiber. I will explain now how I got to that price, because we live in a world where it seems people have lost all touch with reality. You know, things that are in fact worthless or not really worth as much as it's said to be cost an arm and a leg, whereas things that are important are thrown away as rubbish or just basically dumped as worthless. And to me, that is really so unacceptable. I know, Kitty, you're hurting me. Sorry, my cat decided she'll come and pop in. I'm gonna have to throw you out just now, I think. Maybe I should stop spinning while I'm talking, because I need to seriously consider everything I'm saying here. Fiber, as you know by now, is one of my passions. And the most valuable fibers on earth at this stage is basically alpaca fiber. And not because it was made that way, because it used to be the fiber of the gods and only the gods were allowed to wear it, being the overlords of the Inca, and anyone else who would dare wearing it would have been killed. There was a reason for that too. I'll just mention a few fleetingly, because this is not what it's all about. Alpaca is a very light fiber. It doesn't contain lanolin, so you can spin it off the alpaca's back straight and you can wear it. You can even knit lacy garments for summer, because it's really light. It's not going to smother you. It's insulating, so in winter it will really keep you warm. But the main important thing is it also reflects the harmful um, rays of the sun. So rather than go and wear sunblocks, which is not healthy for your skin, in fact, it's cancer causing and it's proven, and it was known for a long, long time. You can wear alpaca garments. Now, it sounds like impossible to go and wear alpaca in summer, but if it's spun thinly and knit up as a lace, it really gives your skin protection. Now, remember, these animals, they evolved and lived up to 6,000 feet in the Andes, very, very high up, where solar radiation is extremely high, and they know how to survive that. The fact that they can survive that very cold winters with snow as well shows you also the other side with the insulating effect. Oh, by the way, this is a suri scarf that I'm wearing today. I didn't weave it and I didn't spin it either. This comes from a mini mole because it's extremely thinly spun and it's beautiful, but it's nice and light. I can even in summer use it as a throw around my shoulders and I will not suffocate. That's the example that I want to give. All right, this is now about alpaca. Now we also come to wool. Wool being one of the oldest, most wonderful protective clothing that you can get to survive winters, etc. But today people just do not have a value for that. They go and buy all these synthetic stuff in the shops. All clothes, 90% of all clothes is synthetic. If you really do find natural clothes, wool, alpaca, linen, silk, etc., it costs an arm and a leg, and you normally only find it in the sort of boutique shops, very expensive. And then you should ask yourself, why is it then that the raw product is thrown away? Because people don't see value in that. But the finished product, which happens to preferably be finished in a corporate-owned huge mill, suddenly becomes extremely expensive. Like this scarf is a really up-class, very expensive item of clothing. Then you start zooming into the fact that people have got their values totally messed up, and that they have been dumbed down to just be sheeple. You must go and work for your salary and preferably learn how to do something that will fit into some mill or some corporate structure somewhere, not what you would like to do. Because the other thing, spinning, the oldest, by the way, one of the oldest, I'm not going to say hobbies because it's an actual skill in the world, is spinning. Spinning wheels have been found way back as much as 6,000 years as well. Alpacas being one of the oldest livestock going back to 6,000 years. So the two go hand in hand. But how many people spin these days? Because they were sort of, with stories and, everybody got the idea it's only old tannies that sit and spin. And even the old tannies don't know how to spin anymore. Luckily, that's changing all over the world, not in South Africa yet, but it is my absolute passion to change that and to get people to go spinning again, because it's also one of the most relaxing hobbies. It shouldn't just be seen as a hobby, because it is an important way to be self-sufficient, to make your own clothes. And again, people were sort of hoodwinked into believing that making your own clothes means you're common, you're too poor, you can't afford to go and buy your own clothes, etc., and the stores, etc., etc., etc. All of that rubbish. While craft, art, the ability to do things with your hands, with your fingers, that's ingrained in human beings. I think That's what our Creator wanted us to do, to create beauty, not destruction, war, and misery for people, because that's what you get from the share markets and things like that, where scarcity is designed and enforced on everybody so that people will forever be without enough money, so they will have to keep on working for a boss, and then they would actually, while they're working for that money, they will be hoodwinked by advertising, etc., into always yearning for the latest craze of rubbish. And with that, especially my pet hate is cell phones, because people would forever yearn for the next upgrade of this, that, and the other. They will never be happy with what they've got. Now, I admit that the manufacturers made sure that that would also work, because they would, for instance, make sure there's always something that they can hold back to. The moment you get your brand new release, there will be something else that will be added on, and people will think, oh, I need the better quality, this, that, and the other. So, and then the other thing, and I would say this is probably the thing I hate the most: games, PlayStations. People's creative power is, it's stolen from them, because they are so craving to go and play a game, sucked into that. They forget what to do with their own hands, because there you can reset and you can supposedly build everything. But in reality, in real life, people are not able to go and do anything anymore. I cannot ever get my head around that, and to me it's so wrong. If I could have a say, I would say it should be against the law for kids to play these games, and the cell phones must be taken away from children until 16, 17. I know I don't sound like a real nasty old Tony, but there is really reason why I'm saying that. People must learn how to use their hands again to make something creative. And you know, the secret with that, a lot of people don't know they haven't actually made anything with their hands yet. They don't know that wonderful feeling you get when you've made something from scratch and you can say, wow, I made that, and now I can actually wear it. For many years, I made my own clothes as well when I had the time. I would take some patterns and make a mix match, take the sleeves of this or whatever, and eventually I started making my own designs as well, because I like that. That way I can put my own creativity in that. People believe they have to buy something from the shops and it has to be the latest fashion, otherwise people are going to laugh at them because they won't fit in. Now, I don't have that problem. I've never really bothered to fit in. People who know me will know that I really probably go against the stream for that matter. I am not a sheep. In fact, maybe I'll add a little bit of that. I belong to a group of people that have gone almost extinct. Now, Grimm in his kids' stories left a little bit of a hint on that, because this subject, reason why I don't really want to touch on it big time. There's a group of people that have been hunted down and killed for centuries because they didn't fit in with that flow of mind control. If you ever heard the story of the ugly duckling, this is what was intended in there. It's actually the swans. The swans will never fit in amongst the ducks because we talk a different language. No, yeah, I'm a swan. And one day I will maybe put that in detail, because this is quite a lengthy subject which will actually come to a blow sometimes this year, I think, because there are things that are set to change worldwide. Yeah, let me leave that for now. Right, back to alpaca. What I really, really dearly want is for people, firstly, to start getting the ability to use their hands to create something again. Now, all right, I'm a woman, so I'm focusing on spinning and handcrafts to prepare that fiber, etc. And I will even make videos on weaving later. And I know, I appreciate that not everybody will be going into those crafts. Just for interest's sake, I love woodwork too, but I had to choose which direction to go. There's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so many studios you can build, and woodwork and spinning doesn't work in the same studio. If ever you've done some woodwork, you know the dust and shavings, etc., it's not going to work. So I, by necessity, had to focus on spinning, which at least happens to be my biggest passion anyway. And then again, it's paired with my other passion, my animals, fiber animals for that. I spent 5 years in Europe as a translator, where I ran a translation agency, and I couldn't handle it there. It was, the winters especially, was too dark and cold and wet, just not for me. A South African cannot survive there. So I came back to South Africa and I carried on with my translation agency, but on a freelance basis here. Over the last 10 years, that sort of didn't pan out also nicely, because slowly but certainly translation work became less and less and less as AI started getting over, because corporations would rather get AI to do a translation for them because they don't have to pay for that, and then they'll just get the translator to go and do the proofreading to make sure there's no mistakes in it. In the meanwhile, you've got what is called a translation, a CAT tool, computer-aided translation, which the poor translators had to buy at extreme prices, just so that the terminology that is stored in that, the TM, can then be taken over by the clients, the corporations, and that TM was eventually used to create AI, which then put us out of work with the TMs that we created ourselves. Our own, shall I say, our knowledge was tapped, stolen to make AI and put us out of work. But anyway, it's one of those things. They say if one door closes, there's another window that opens. So when I came back to South Africa, initially I earned a very nice income. Way too much that I couldn't actually spend it. Can you believe it, that there was actually a time like that? So I decided to invest that money in my, shall I say, old age pension. I do not trust pension schemes, funds, because one of the reasons why I'm called a witch, I can see the future. Unfortunately, not everything I want to see, otherwise I would have played the lotto, but it doesn't work like that. I see things that I do not necessarily want to know. Unfortunately, I also do not always see the dates and things, so I know certain things are going to happen, but I don't know when. And I know for a fact that we are very close now to the point where everybody's going, there's not going to be something like retirement funds, etc. So if you've got money that you think you're going to put aside for your old age, retirement, etc., you better consider what I'm saying now. If the share market crash, which they have planned to do, the pension funds will crash, and whatever money you were hoping to find later is not going to be there anymore. So now it's going to sound like I'm doing sales talk here, because I'm going to tell you to do what I am doing. And a lot of people are not going to listen to me. I would say 99.99% won't listen to me. I don't like that thing of I told you so for later, but I can tell you now, in a year or two from now, a lot of people are going to think back to what I'm saying here and thinking, we should have listened. But anyway, right back at that stage, I decided to get something that I know will be of value by the time all of these things are going to happen, which happens to be the beginning of a new ice age. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are going to sit and laugh here and think, wow, ha, ha, now we are in global warming. Oh, shame. You should stop listening to all the nonsense you hear on TV and that politicians are selling to you so that you can pay more taxes because they're supposedly going to save you. No, there's a reason they're all building bunkers. And there's a reason they won't tell people what's going on, because otherwise people are going to stop paying into the insurance funds and things like that. But let me not carry on like that. I don't want this video to be blocked by YouTube, because it will probably already get a warning about, yeah, let me not even use that term again, because that's sort of earmarked to just jump up there. Okay, so I decided I will be prepared for what's coming. And for that, I needed to be able to spin. I needed to be able to have lots of fiber that I can spin up and trade with afterwards. Because you need to be able to run some kind of a bartering system. So you need to have the skills to do something other than your 9-to-5 job, which will not exist anymore. Okay, but I think I should rather just bypass this quickly. I've already made a video on why I think everybody must spin. This sort of ties into that. I should actually say that was my witching hour, the first one. I bought alpacas for the right reason, not for the wrong reason. A lot of people bought alpacas initially because I thought they're going to get rich with them. Now, this is another thing I hate with a passion, that belief that people have that they're going to get their money to work for them so that they can get rich. Why on earth do you want to get rich? You do not have to be rich unless you plan on being one of those oppressors who want to make sure that you stay ahead of them all and step on them and keep the small man small and make sure you're the big one. So why not just be happy and have what you need? A roof over your head, a beautiful garden where you can actually go and grow your own veggies, fresh veggies. You don't need to buy it from the stores, things like that. Okay, I understand everybody's got their own sense of value, but if people really switch off their Wi-Fi and stop listening to all that ads, stop bombarding them with belief that they've got to get the newest PlayStation or the newest telephone or the newest car or whatever. What do you really need to be happy? You need to be healthy. You need to have a reliable, trustworthy husband or wife, caring, loving children and family, friends, fresh air, things like that. The things that are really important that you cannot actually buy with money. Think about that. The most important things in life cannot be bought with money. And one of those things is, when the time comes, the real skills to be self-sufficient can also not be bought with money then. Because when that time is past and you don't have the time to learn anymore, then you're going to be in trouble. Okay, I know I'm sort of all over the place here, but trying to keep my drift. Right. I want to sort of now promote, firstly, alpaca fiber, obviously spinning wheels as well, but also alpacas and sheep for that matter. I want people to go and think about what life was, let's say about 150 years ago, before the Industrial Revolution. Because in school you're being taught that the Industrial Revolution was wonderful for everybody, because it ensured people didn't have to work so hard anymore, they had more free time for themselves, etc. But is it true? Is it really true, or is that just a bunch of lies that have been sold to you? Because before the Industrial Revolution, people had to spin their own yarns, they had to knit their own jerseys, they had to make their own clothes. Husbands were tending the fields, etc., things like that. They didn't have to go and work in the factories, which happened to be the spin off of the Industrial Revolution. So after the Industrial Revolution, suddenly what happens is that the women had to also go and work in these factories. They were no longer able to go and make their own clothes and spin their own things. And I'm telling you, if you're a spinner, you love what you're doing. It's not a chore. You love doing it. If you're a knitter, you love knitting. You want to do that. If you're knitting for your family, jerseys, whatever, you love doing it. It's not a chore. But now you have to pack up everything at home, leave it there, go off to work so that you can go and work for a boss to earn money so that you can come home. And now you have to go and buy the clothes that are made in those factories that you now have to go and work in, etc. I think most of you will start getting the picture here. How many of you really jump out of bed in the morning looking forward to the day, going to slave away, working for a boss, doing something you probably don't even really like doing? How many of you actually do what you like doing? How many of you can say your work is also your hobby? Be honest. How many of you rush home to go and do the things that you really would like to do? Think about that as well. Okay, so what I want, my dream for humanity all over the world, is that everybody can learn how to be happy again with what they've got. And that is not being rich. Being rich is chasing dreams that does not exist. It's that hamster wheel you keep on running, or even worse, look at the dog chasing his tail. That's, I want to get rich. That's the dog chasing his tail. Sit down and really ask yourself, what do you really need to do? What do you really want in life? And then you'll discover those things that you really need in life, that you really would want in life, are the stuff that have been passed off as worthless. You can't do anything with it. Like the skills to spin, or the ability to knit or crochet or weave. Very few people do that anymore because they don't have time, firstly. And secondly, I think, but why would we do that? Because we can go and buy clothes. And they've been told that people who want to make their own clothes or spin their own yarn or whatever are either idiots or just low-class citizens who are not able to do anything else. No, not at all. It's not the case. Really think it over. Right, I need to quickly, before I forget about that again, because I yak away and I forget to actually try and get to the point. Alpaca fiber, you will notice what the price is, what I charge for that. The way I got to that price is I would take all the expenses it takes me to raise my alpacas, to keep the camps going, to pay the salaries for the people that look after them, etc. And I wrote a blog on my website as well on that subject. You can go and read it there. But to cut a long story short, it works out that I need about 3,000 Rand per kilo to make it, to get to break even. Now, at this stage with my translation agency being non-existent because AI is doing the work that I used to do for a very good salary, I have like 600 kilos of fiber in my storerooms. Well, at least it's safe because I'm not going to allow the moss to get in there. That's my insurance or my pension money. But I can now also go and say, I urgently need money every month because I'm telling you, I'm a widow also, so I don't have a husband buying the food or paying the car or the fuel or data, things like that. I have to pay for every single cent myself. Now, I can also go and be stupid, because that's the other thing people have been taught to be stupid. They have no business sense at all anymore. Whereas valuable things are thrown away at absolutely no price at all, really cheap. you know, it's unbelievable what, yeah, let me not even carry on about that. Anyway, so I can now go and say, all right, I've got all of this fiber and I'm going to sell it at 20 Rand a packet of spinning fiber or whatever, so that I can quickly go and get rid of all 600 kilos I've got in my storeroom, and I've got enough money for the next 3 or 4 or 5 months maybe to make a good living. And then afterwards, oops, what now? I've got not enough fiber anymore. No, people need to learn to not be like that little child that's got this whole basket full of sweeties in front of him that's going to eat until he's got a sore stomach, vomit it all out, and tomorrow he's going to sit and think, oh, I wish I had sweeties and there's no more. People need to grow up and think for themselves. Think of tomorrow. So there's a reason why I am selling my fiber at the price I'm selling it, because that is what it will cost to manufacture, well, not manufacture because the alpacas manufacture their own, but for me to keep them healthy, to actually grow that wool and to shear it in the end. At the end of the year, with the shearing season, you look at 180 Rand per alpaca just to shear them. And that is because that's what the equipment and new blades and cutters, etc. cost, plus the salaries of the people who will be doing the shearing. I'm not going to go into full details about that. It's there. Sheep, same thing. Sheep wool today, people throw it away because there are not enough people spinning, and people don't know what to do with it. They can't see the value in it. They've been hoodwinked. You know, yeah, there's so many things I can discuss here. I don't want to go all over the place. If tomorrow the stores would close down and there would be no more shops, no Woolworths, no Pep stores, no nothing, no Pick and Pay, no Checkers, no Carrefour, no Lidl, you've got to go and make everything yourself that you want. You've got to create your own clothing, etc. People are going to be totally lost because they don't even know where things come from. I mean, a lot of small kids, if you ask them where the milk comes from, they're going to tell you it comes from the bottle or the box or whatever. They've got no idea that it comes from a cow even. So we need to try and educate people again about the value of everything. I'm keeping my prices to the real value of that fiber. And I really do hope that other breeders will use their common sense as well and not want to go and throw fiber away at yeah, unbelievable, ridiculous prices, because they want to make sure they get the sale rather than somebody else. Think about what's going to happen if you don't have fiber anymore. It's a finite source. Okay, so let me summarize all the yakking I've done just now. And let's assume, because I can't go and tell you what I know, what I've seen, because that's not good for your health. And I wouldn't want to go and have an accident and break my back again. So let's just listen to what I can advise. And that's based on what I actually have done. I bought my alpacas because I know the fiber is going to protect me against solar radiation, which will be a problem, and which people, if they do their own homework, will come to the same conclusions. Anyway, not only that, it will keep me warm, because we are not going for global warming. The ocean streams are going to flip pretty soon, and then it's going to be decidedly cool, depending on where you live in the world, but suffice it to say it's going to be cold everywhere. Some colder than others, and some places, no matter what you've got, is not going to protect you. So anyway, now what did I do? I set out and I bought myself a lot of alpacas. You don't need to get a whole lot. I'm just the crazy one that always wants to go and help everybody and warn everybody and make sure I've got enough to help everybody. But the guys that are already having their 3 or 4 or 7 or whatever father boys, you set to go. There's only one problem, because most people already, if they've got alpacas, they shear them and they gave the fibre away, or they burn it because they can't spin. So here's my next set of advice: learn to spin. It is extremely important. The other thing, and the reason why people don't know things that I'm talking about now, is what makes the world go round is everybody paying their credit card every month, their bond, buying new cars, buying new cell phones, etc. Now imagine people suddenly realize, but there's something else coming, and that all that rubbish that they're wasting their money on at the moment is actually going to be worthless. I mean, even that very nice Slani car, if there's no more fuel, how are they going to drive around in it? Yeah, the leather seats look a bit bad if you end up having to let the chicken sleep in it, no? So, if you were, rather than buying a new cell phone, now going to invest in getting yourself a decent spinning wheel, and instead of buying a new lawnmower, weed eater and whatever, get yourself an alpaca. Well, have to be 2. You can't just keep them on their own. They don't survive on their own. Now, I don't have alpacas to sell to you, so that's not sell store, but there's a lot of people that have extra alpacas available for sale. So if any of you are interested in getting alpacas, you're welcome to comment below and I will put you in touch with the right people, because really it is necessary. And if you don't want to go for alpacas, get yourself a sheep or 2 or 3. With sheep, at least you'll be able to eat them afterwards as well, heaven forbid. But yeah, that's the option is always still there. But truly, you cannot go wrong if you have your own fiber source and you know how to spin. And if you really cannot get yourself a spinning wheel, you can still spin with spindles. I gave sort of a quick course in my previous video last week, the Aura video. So consider this video I'm making now, as I said, my witching videos I think will always be in this sort of same direction, based on things I know because I've seen it, because I'm a witch. Well, anyway, the story of Sudra, he was, that happens to be the oldest source of the Noah story. Noah's story was based on that, but obviously they had to write out the influence Enki had in there. They had to make it sound as if it came from God. Enki was one of the gods with a small g, so there's that. Anyway, how he wasn't allowed to warn the people of what's coming, according to the big council and the main honcho being Enlil. So what he did is he would go and stand behind the hut, behind the reed mat, and he warned Sudra about what's coming and what he was supposed to do. So this is now not Sudra, and I'm not one of the small letter G's. I am a swan though, they were also swans. But I'm the white swan, whereas some other ones are what they call the black swan. And we're going to have a black swan event soon. So make sure you do what you want to do and get yourself set up before then. Now, I know this video sounds totally mixed up and as if it's in riddles and whatever, but believe me, the subject sounds like woohoo and whatever, but it is a subject that people are not really supposed to talk about, because quite honestly, if let's say for a second you were to take me serious now, and I mean, I'm not thinking anyone's going to take me serious. I mean, after all, what do I know? We've got global warming there, and if you pay taxes, will be okay. Government will save you. But let's say there's one or two that maybe will believe what I've got to say. You can contact me. I'll give you more detail if you really want to. But anyway, would you, knowing what's coming, meaning the small ice age, total crash of markets, which will be due to a black swan event, already planned and in motion, would you still continue doing what you're doing today, planning for your new latest version of a cell phone, new PlayStation 5? I believe it's the 5 that's now out, that the Americans are so upset because it's going to be more expensive. As if life is so important that you've got to be able to play games and whatever. Yeah, but anyway. Would you still fall for all that rubbish if you know there's more serious things at hand? I think this video is long enough, and I think I've said enough. For those who can get the riddle sorted out, enjoy it. Until next time, bye.